Good morning and welcome back. Trinidad and Tobago, we continue with the program. We are live on CTV and Talk City 91.1 FM. It's time for Tobago segment. The Trinidad and Tobago Contractors Association, in collaboration with the Divisions of Settlements, Urban Renewal and Public Utilities and Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment, is hosting a seminar, Statutory Approvals for a Building Project. And this morning we have a large panel with us. We have two members from Tobago. We have Mr. Ram Logan Rupnarayan Singh, President of the Trinidad and Tobago Contractors Association in our Tobago studio. And there he's also joined by Moriniki Adekale, a Project Officer, Division of Settlements, Urban Renewal and Public Utilities. And we are also joined here in Trinidad. We have Ms. Cheryl Ann Haynes, Consultant, Town and Country Planning Expert. And we also have Mr. John Cardenas, General Manager, Trinidad and Tobago Contractors Association. Good morning to our friends in Tobago. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's a pleasure to have you. This morning we'll be talking a little bit about this particular seminar, and I'd like to start with you, Mr. Rupnarayan Singh. What is the purpose of such a seminar?
Well, firstly, let me go back to a little bit of history. Over the last year, we in the Contractors Association has been working with the THA, hosting several seminars. This is in the third of a series of seminars. We did a concrete seminar, we did a roofing seminar, and now we are doing the statutory approval seminars. The idea of this is that we in the Contractors Association needs people to be informed of the regulations of what they need to do when they are doing building projects. This seminar is being hosted so that we could inform the contractors, builders, homeowners, and the general public of the requirements when they are doing any building projects.
Wonderful. And I'd like to ask Ms. Moriniki, I hope I got your name correct?
That's correct.
All right, wonderful. Do you see the need for something like this? Is there or are there some gray areas when it comes to building and information in terms of building regulations in Tobago at this time?
Well, definitely. You have private citizens, and through our division, because we provide housing, people aren't always aware of what approvals, of what steps they have to go through. So it is needed for the general public, for contractors who would mostly know, but it's always good to have concrete information. So yes, it's needed.
Wonderful. And in our studio here in Trinidad, I'd like to welcome to the conversation Ms. Cheryl Ann Haynes. She's had extensive experience in this field. So I know we've had several seminars in the past here in Trinidad. What are your thoughts in terms of taking it to Tobago?
Well, I think it's important. Of course, Tobago has development just as Trinidad has development, and it's one country. But I think it's important for people to always be kept aware of what is required. And what the seminar does is we are basically going to have different agencies speaking, and myself, I'm talking for Town and Country Planning, not the agency, but for the process. And what we would be doing is making sure that people understand what is the process you have to go through, because a lot of times that causes problems because people don't understand, or they hear somebody says something, this is what you should do, and they often get wrong advice. So what the Contractors Association is trying to do is to bring to the table the correct information as to where you find your information, who you go to get information, and how you make sure that you get the right information to do the project that you want to do.
Yes. And Mr. Cardenas, do you see this initiative as being absolutely important?
Yes, it's very important, especially now where Trinidad is developing into a first world country, and we need to have proper planning and proper approvals and doing it the right way.
Yes. Now, Mr. Rupnarayan Singh, what is the structure of this seminar? What can we expect?
Well, basically, what we can expect is that the regulations and the approval process which should be explained by Mrs. Haynes. We'll have other statutory boards like WASA, Health, and anyway, Mr. Cardenas and Mrs. Haynes will be able to explain to you a lot better what the process is.
All right. So, Ms. Haynes, what can you tell us will be on the agenda in terms of the agenda for this particular seminar?
What we'd be doing is we'd have different presentations by different people, so that I will do the regulatory process for the planning, town country planning. In that, I would also discuss the linkages with other ministries that you would have to sometimes collaborate with. Yeah. Town and country collaborates with to get information. We'd also have someone from WASA who will be talking about the process of getting connections and what is the process, what documents and information you are required to get and where you can get it. We'd also have someone who would be talking about construction, who would be from Division of Infrastructure and Public Utilities, about the process for them, for the buildings, because of course with, especially if you're doing commercial buildings or large buildings, they have to be the ones who would vet the applications to make sure that your drawings are correct. And I think the important thing for people to understand about the whole regulatory process is the regulatory process ensures that your building is safe. That is the main process, that's the main reason behind it, so that you have these technical and highly trained people who will ensure that whoever is doing your work for you is doing it in the right way, that your building will be a safe building, whether it's an earthquake, hurricane, that it will stand up.
Yes. And also, Mr. Cardenas, in the past, we've had seminars like this in Trinidad, in Trinidad specifically. Would you say that the turnout has been somewhat encouraging? People have actually shown interest and seen the need for something like this?
As a matter of fact, we have been overwhelmed at the last seminar we had in Trinidad, where we had over 150 participants. And because people want to be aware of how do you go about getting a job done, and how do you plan for it. And you know, in Trinidad, instead of having to know somebody in an office, you know, we want to get it done right and make sure that you do the right processes in getting approvals. We also have to top off the program, Bureau of Standards. They're also representing on their aspect of planning and materials and stuff, the standards that are required for construction.
Okay. So this event takes place when and where? I'd like to direct that question to Mr. Rupnaranting. Where in Tobago will this conference be held?
All right, it takes place on the 26th of July at the Works Conference Center at Shore Park, Tobago. At the time, it's around 2 p.m. in the afternoon.
Okay. And Ms. Moriniki, what would have gone into planning this event?
Well, as you're aware, it's a collaboration with the Division of Settlements, Urban Renewal and Public Utilities. Because a large part of our remit is providing housing, we have several large developments that are ongoing at the moment. So we would be looking towards contractors, or not just active contractors, but we also have a contractors list that we would use for procurement. So they would be invited. Members of the public are always in the division for different issues concerning housing. So we are advertising to them as well. We have flyers. We have a liaison who directly deals with them to ensure that people are aware that this is coming up and that this is something that we think is important for them to take part in.
All right, and Mr. Rupnaranting, you mentioned in the past we've had the concrete seminar and the roofing seminar. Would you say that those were particularly well attended as well?
They were, and it is very encouraging. You see, being president of the association, one of the initiatives was any seminar we have done in Trinidad, we will be doing them in Tobago. And this is just another one of them.
All right. And Ms. Sherilyn Haynes, you will be actually one of the main speakers at this event, correct?
Yes, I will be.
All right. And how important do you see something like this? Do you see this having an impact at the end?
I think it's very important, and I think it definitely does have an impact. What the last one we did, the similar conference we did for Trinidad,
Yes.
we had a lot of people asking questions, and afterwards people coming to ask about what else they could, where else they could get information and stuff. So I think it's very important for people to understand that there is information out there that they can source, and that there are people who they can get the information from. Because, for example, with WASA, a lot of people don't understand about the whole new facilities process, which is to get water and stuff. And the guy who did the presentation, Mr. Benny, he was extremely good at explaining the whole process, taking you through. I learned a lot. And so that people really understood then that what they were supposed to do, which of course prevents you from then having problems when you're doing it if you know exactly what you have to do. And he went through the process step by step and pointed out on the website where they could get information and stuff. So it was, I think it was very, 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 very well received.
Yes. And Ms. Moriniki, I'd like to ask you about registration information. Is registration still open?
I believe it is. As we've said, the event is carded for the 26th. So registration is still open.
Okay, and registration fee and that sort of thing, and where can we make payments?
It's the fee is $300 VAT inclusive. We can make payments to any office, any RBC. There's an account number,
Okay.
the TTCA, and also you can make payments at the venue and also at THA.
Wonderful. And I'd like to ask Mr. Roop Narayan Singh for his closing comments at this time.
Well, we are hoping that this event would be another successful venture by the Trinidad and Tobago Contractors Association. As we in the Contractors Association, we are based on training and make sure that the people do the right thing, and also all the relevant agencies.
Wonderful. And Ms. Haynes, what are your closing comments at this time?
I always think that information is power, and I think that it is important for people to get all the information they can before they make decisions. And especially when you are building, whether it's a big building or whether it's your home, it's a very important decision you take, and it can be a very costly one. So it's important for you to have everything, all the information you need up front.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, our friends in Tobago, as well as our panel here in Trinidad. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. And just to recap, this seminar is the Statutory Approvals for a Building Project seminar. It takes place July 26th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Works Conference Room, Division of Infrastructure and Public Utilities. And of course, members of the public, builders, contractors, planners, developers, all invited. We understand that the registration fee is approximately $300. And the deadline for registration, according to this flyer, is, I believe, July 19th.
But it's still open.
And it's still open. Yeah. All right. Okay, well, thank you so much and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.